Hey, what's up guys? I'm TPV Robinizer and welcome to another discussion video. I recently had the one about Deoxys speed go up. I had a surprising amount of people actually enjoy that, so that was cool. But we got another one here, and it is about the Steel Fairy types, Mega Mawile and Magearna. And today I am with Justin. Say hello.
What's poppin'?
He's a pretty good League battler. I'll link his channel in the description. We just recorded a video on his channel that is about Aegislash. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. But I guess let's get right into it. So first we're going to talk about Mawile. And first I'll show you guys the base stats of just normal Mawile before it Mega Evolves. Let's see.
Poor little adolescent Mawile.
Let's see. I think this is it. I don't know. I'll edit and post. But its stats are less than ideal. Is the best way to put it. It's got 50, 85, 85, 55, 55, 50. So it's got a pretty bad everything. It's got 85 defense with Intimidate, so that's cool. Its other ability is Hyper Cutter, so you can avoid Intimidates on the other side of the field, but you're not going to be doing much with normal Mawile. It's all about the Mega form. And this thing, it got like the biggest buff out of any Mega, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you know, some people would like say Kangaskhan. Nah, we got Mega Mawile. So we still have 50 HP, 55 special attack, and 50 speed. However, our attack is up to 105, defense is 125, and special defense is 95. And we got the addition of huge power, which is very fair. And this thing has been, it was Uber's last generation, I believe, and now it's OU this generation. So I guess let's get into the first set. We'll go over just the offensive SD set. So,
Yeah, probably
what
the
are
most
your
common
thoughts?
Mawile when you think of it. I think it's definitely a threat no matter what way you look at it, no matter what your team is. You always have to deal with it because even if it doesn't have the SD up, Mawile breaks everything. And if it gets it up, it can be a game-ending situation.
Yeah, looking at its attack, it's like almost 700 if you're max attack adamant, which is absurd. It's the highest in the game, I believe, unboosted. No, not I believe. It is the highest in the game, unboosted. 50 speed is pretty poor, but if you run a decent amount of speed investment, you can outspeed no speed base 70s and base 80s. So a lot of the bulky mons you can still outspeed and then just kill them, which is crazy. Yeah, the typical set you're gonna see runs SD with dual stab sucker punch, or in OU I believe it is play rough sucker punch and then knockoff for the in case something tries to just like taunt you or something to avoid the sucker punch, you can knock off, and it's a great move. It's great utility.
Yeah, and not to mention that last slot can also go to any of the wide covers that this monster just gets. It has, I believe, Fire and Ice Punch. It has Fire Fang, Steel types. I think this thing even gets Superpower, if I'm not mistaken. No, it does not get Superpower.
It gets Stone Edge, I believe.
Yeah,
But
like this thing has so much coverage. It's ridiculous.
and then early when it was used in OU, what you would see was a Stealth Rock Play Rough set, because with Stall being so rampant early in OU with Dugtrio, it was one of the only mons that could set up Stealth Rocks on like Mega Sableye, because it just threatens even a Mega Sableye out with its Play Rough, and then can set up rocks. So you could run an offensive set with rocks, and it does so much damage that it threatens things out and can easily get rocks up. So it's got some cool support there. And like you pointed out, it's got the coverage moves. It has Fire Fang, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch, which like the elemental fangs and then 2 punches. So that's weird, I guess, but it gets all 3 of the types. So it can take on some of the common defensive threats in OU and in League.
Yeah, like this thing, there's no safe switch into Mega Mawile, period. No matter what way you look at it.
I guess some of the weaknesses to the offensive set is it has middling speed, 50. Like I said, you can outspeed no speed base 80s or 70s, which is good for outspeeding the bulky mons. However, some of the actual offensive mons, you're not going to outspeed them. And if a mon resists Sucker Punch, you're not going to be doing too much damage to them either. So it's got a couple weaknesses there, but it's so strong. And with its Mega Evolution, having 125 defense and 95 special defense means it is also extremely bulky. And having Intimidate beforehand even heightens that.
And
so
not only
it's
to
even
mention,
bulky.
that's probably the best defensive typing in the game.
Yes.
Fairy Steel is super good.
Fairy Steel is very good. And I guess that's where we can transition into this not so common set that I have, and it's a bulky Mawile, which, I mean, you're not going to see this on ladder, wow. But in League, this thing has Intimidate with base 125 defense after it Mega Evolves. So it's going to be really fat having that, and having that amazing defensive typing will work really well. And after you Mega Evolve and get rid of Intimidate, you're still going to have like 500 attack. So you're going to tank hits for days, and then you can also just body things back, like Dark types or anything weak to Fairy, gone. Anything weak to Steel, gone. And you have the utility in Knockoff, Stealth Rock, Taunt to be able to do some things, like for the utility-wise to actually warrant you running defensive. Yeah, it's just, you're only going to see it in League, but it's an option because it is super bulky while still being super strong at the same time.
Exactly. And even on the defensive side, you could still fit in over like Taunt over SD over Taunt, because it could still take a hit and then get up to those plus ridiculous stats as well.
Mm-hmm.
Still abuse it.
Mm-hmm. You could have max defense, max HP, and then after a sucker, or not a sucker punch, a swords dance, you have 1,000 attack. Like, it's crazy.
It's absurd how powerful this thing can get, even when uninvested.
I guess another set to go over is in Gen 6, this was banned to Ubers, and people did find a way to run this in Ubers. You'd think it'd be very good, but in Ubers everything's so fat, so Sucker Punch wasn't really doing as much, and everything is so fast, so the speed didn't help it. But in Ubers, what they ran was a Spadef set, almost max Spadef, almost max HP, with an Adamant Nature, so it had a lot of power. It had like 550 attack, and then it still had just so much damage it could put out and still tank hits on either side.
Yeah, because I think the main part of this set was mainly as to check to Xerneas, because that was like the major thing back in Gen 6. And even still, like a Spadef set just takes on mostly any kind of offensive fairy types really well.
It just takes on the fairy types really well, which are like just actually really good. With like Coco running around. Granted, T-Bolt's doing a lot, but like the offensive fairy types are just growing in numbers, and this can take them on pretty well.
Exactly. Like, if this thing's built to take on a freaking Xerneas, this thing, any other lower fairy type should definitely always be scared of this thing. That's the pinnacle of power.
Yeah. So the main things about Mawile is it's super strong while still being bulky at the same time. It has a little bit of utility. And I guess we can discuss if we want to ban it or not after the next mon, or do you want to do that now?
There's one more set of Mawile I want to go over.
I'm dumb.
It's the one of Mawile's, I think, more potent sets, because I've used the set a lot, and I think it's probably one of Mawile's more devastating sets, is the sub-SD Mawile. Because in format, I feel one of the ways people think they can get around it is by crippling it with Will-O-Wisp, or some sort of status inflictment, or when Mawile gets the chance to come in, people are going to start running away. They're going to start switching in their walls. They're going to start trying to tank a hit from this thing. You can set up a sub with Mawile very easily. And then you just get SD off afterwards, so you get that safely 100% off. And then if your sub stays, you're in a great position. And if it goes down, whatever, you still have a powerful Mawile that can start breaking apart everything. You get that set off.
And the great thing about Mawile being so strong is you don't really need any move other than Sucker Punch plus Stab, because Stab is doing a lot to anything, and Sucker Punch will kill some of the frailer mons that are faster than you, and even some of the moderately bulky mons, because you have an absurd attack stat. And yeah, and I also, while doing research, quote unquote, for this video, I came across in the other options slot in Smogon was you could run a sub focus punch set because like mons like Heatran would think they could switch in pretty freely, and then they'd die. So that was cool. That's some hidden tech you can pull out if you want. Take on those steel types that would normally take you on pretty well.
And even if then, you don't need to always run Sub Punch. He does have Brick Break for potential fighting power as well. Just has a lot of good physical options.
Yeah, it has so much utility. If only huge power doubled your special attack too, we could cover like so many more sets. Oof.
Oh my god, that'd be disgusting.
That'd be very fair.
that would be Uber's 100%, honestly, if it was.
Just throw out a random HPA out of nowhere. But
Good lord.
yeah. So you want to move on to Magearna or discuss this for the banning first?
I think let's discuss this for banning, I guess, then, because it's covered up.
Okay.
Like, the question is, does it have competitive viability? Like, is it fair competitively?
I'll go over my opinions first, then you can go over yours. In my opinion, I think this should be banned, honestly, because one of the things I see is like a lot of people like choose offense for their high tier picks and then defense for their low tier picks, and low tier defense doesn't wall this, period. So it can just sucker punch through all the offensive mons, and then just, the low tier defense can't really stand up to this. And then one of the other things is with like Gen 7 coming out, offense has become much more viable over balance or stall. So a lot of the frailer, faster mons just sort of fall over to sucker punch. So I think it's super strong in this metagame, and it's crazy. So
yeah,
what are your opinions?
I'm inclined to agree, honestly, because Mawile, the problem is it breaks everything unconditionally without setup in the first place, and once it gets off SD, it pretty much just can win the game. A lot of times, not, because unless you have something that can live +2 sucker reliably, then you automatically just lose the game. There are only, I think, really 2 Pokemon I think that can effectively switch into Mawile 90, if not 100% of the time. That's Arcanine and Toxapex. And only having 2 months that can really reliably switch into this monster for an entire format is not competitively fair at all. It's not. It's hard to check. It's hard to counter, and it's just impossible to switch into.
Yeah, it's crazy. I personally do think it's very bannable. I think it should be banned. And another thing to point out is just like having Intimidate is sort of just like salt on the wound. Like, hey, I'm gonna kill you, and then you can't touch me because I have good defenses and I intimidated you. Like, it's sort of like Mega Salamence. Like, Mega Salamence would intimidate you, then just set up one Dragon Dance and win. This is the same thing, but with Swords Dance, and I think it's honestly just pretty unfair.
Yeah, I think it's kind of along the lines of also Landry with Sheer Force, where you just don't really need to think when you play it. You just either push buttons and watch things die. Like, there's no thinking process to it. You literally anyone can pretty much run the set and break teams apart. I definitely gotta say this mon should not be allowed in format.
So we both agree on the ban there. I guess let's move on to the second Steel Fairy type, and that is Magearna. So this thing has been... at the beginning of Sun and Moon, people were like, yeah, let's allow this. And then after the first season of a league, everyone was like, no, let's ban this. Like, that's just what happened. But going over its base stats, they're pretty crazy. You got 80 HP, 95 attack, 115 defense, 130 special attack, 115 SpDef, and 65 speed, with the ability Soul Heart, which is like a beast boost, but it is only for your special attack, and it includes when your opponent dies to like Stealth Rock or Toxic. So it's a fantastic ability. It's got fantastic base stats and everything but speed, but you have shift gear, so who cares?
And on top of that, its speed tier is like the interesting kind of, would say, like the mediocre zone where you can effectively run Trick Room with it too.
Yes. It's got so many options for what it can do to just fix speed, which is like its only issue, honestly. Looking at its other stats, that's its only issue. Yeah, let's start off with not the most common set in OU, but probably the most common set in League format, and that's Shift Gear.
Oh Lord.
Um, so okay, so first up, the most common set you're gonna see is Shift Gear with Bolt Beam and All Out Pummeling, which is it's like perfect coverage because Bolt Beam is like the best for hitting literally anything neutrally, and then throw an All Out Pummeling in there and everything's dying. Um, then the most common set you're gonna see is gonna be running a fair amount of speed, up to max speed, so that after a shift gear you outspeed everything. I believe if you go max speed shift gear, you're gonna be faster than up to base 100 scarves, which is very very fast. So like some of the common pixies, which are like abundant in league, everyone drafts them. You can outspeed those after shift gear, and then you still have 130 special attack, and you get your soul heart boost whenever you get a kill. And whenever someone sacks something, like one of the ways to deal with setup sweepers is you sack something and bring in your check. But if you sack something, you're just giving it a boost.
Yeah, Magearna is just one of the most infamous sweepers in format because just how it's really hard to stop this thing from getting going.
Mm-hmm. It's just super strong. And then like with shift gear, you're thinking like, okay, it raises attack. That's pointless, and it is pointless. But you know, you could run Iron Head or something. I don't know. Yeah.
The one thing I want to note with Magearna is like the only real defensive check to any Magearna sets are usually bulky fire types, but even then it has ways to get around it, such as T-Trend, you can Z-Focus blast it.
Mm-hmm.
Arcanine, you can just wear it down pretty easily if you get boosts off. It's plus Stealth Rock hazards with this kind of mon.
Yeah.
It's really hard to stop.
With the right support, it's just unstoppable.
It's not hard to get that support. You can even get low tier support for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely good to go.
And another couple other options for the shift gear I want to point out is in OU for a short time, one of the most common sets was leftover shift gear with Calm Mind, which just is sort of like, again, sort of saying, hey, we're going to abuse our 115 special defense, sort of like Mawile abused its high defense, and just raise it so you can't kill me, and I'm just raising my special attack with every turn, and then with every kill you raise it even more. So it was able to boost its speed and special attack, and it just sort of swept some teams. And then because the bolt beam coverage is like near perfect, it could still take many things on. Another option is just stab with flash cannon. You could run a never-ending nightmare. I think that was common for 1 point. Or you could run a floor cannon, which we'll talk about more later with a couple other sets.
Yeah, like this thing's setup options is just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, it just has good utility you can slap on too for a bulky variant. Because I don't know if it's on the dock or not, but there's like T-wave options.
Mm-hmm.
There's pain split recovery.
Yeah, I guess we'll go over the bulky sets next, and then move back to the more mid tier between bulky and offensive. So the first set I have here is it shows that you have Volt Switch for the momentum grabbing. Like the thing is, this comes in, it abuses its absurd defenses and its absurd typing, like one of the best typings in the game. And then it can Thunder Wave people, it can pain split things, it can Volt Switch out. It's a nuisance to deal with defensively. Couple other options is this has Magnet Rise, which, like, you know, I guess if your opponent has like a Lando T, it's probably gonna, if they know you're a bulky set, then that's gonna be their best switch in. They're not gonna try and switch in on an offensive Ice Beam, but if they know you're bulky, they might try and switch in on that and just kill you. But you have Magnet Rise to stop that. You have Heal Bell for the cleric support, and you have dual screens to abuse the rest of your team. You could dual screens up and then Volt Switch out and do a sweeper and sort of win. It just has a lot of support there. Yeah.
Yeah, just nuts.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess we'll go over the Uber set, which is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
This is the kind of set where if you saw it in OU, you'd say, oh, that's some heat. But if you saw it in Ubers, you'd be like, ugh, I hate this mon. Its most common set is max HP, max SpDef with Heartswap. So a lot of the offensive fairy types, namely Xerneas and Ubers, would set up, and then you'd Heartswap, get all their boosts, they lose their boost, and then you can floor cannon and kill something. Because like even with no investment, you still have like 300 special attack, you steal people's boosts and you're going for a base 130 stab fairy type move. It's a fairy type Draco Meteor, and you can just kill something. It also takes on Calm Minesweepers. It's just the Heartswap set is very interesting, and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. It's definitely one of my favorite things to bring versus like stall teams, particularly the ones that just want to try to set up in your face.
Mm-hmm. It's just, it's some hidden tech, and it works really well. And you could even run if in league, like if you're going against like a bulk up sweeper, you can beat that for a second. I'll be right back.
Cue the Jeopardy music.
Oh, hello, I'm back. But yeah, the Uber set, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the big things I think it brings to the table of format is it makes it that it's not like, oh, you can try to set up and beat this thing down 1v1.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, that denies setup.
Mm-hmm. Just most types of setup are just nullified when you have this mon.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, you have to prep for this, even if like a shift gear set is what they're probably gonna bring. Like, if you, it's sort of like Ditto, I guess, in a way, where, you know, setup would win if they don't bring it, but you got to make sure that if they do bring it, you're still fine, which is an interesting thing that it brings to the table.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Next, I guess we'll talk about the AV set, which is the most common in OU. It is, it's everywhere in OU, and that's because with the max HP, max speed F, literally any special attack does nothing. Like, it's absurd. It takes no damage from anything, and it can just floor cannon, do a lot of damage, and volt switch out. The standard OU set runs Iron Head because it lets it hit on the physical side against other special walls, and it uses its steel stab. Couple interesting options it has is Grass Knot to take on rain, because it's not common in format, but in OU you could you could bait in a Swampert and just Oko it. So it's got a couple cool options there with the AV set.
Yeah, that's just like, I feel like that was the most popular Magearna when it first came out, like the bulky variant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got quite a few options. And then the last one we're gonna go over is one you sort of mentioned, and that is Trick Room. This thing's a very, very reliable Trick Room setter and abuser. You could go the route where you Trick Room, you maybe floor cannon, do a ton of damage, and just volt switch and do a threat, or you could in league you could try and abuse the Trick Room yourself with the Calm Mind sweeping set, where you just Calm Mind up and then Trick Room, and you're fine. And just sort of win because of its speed tier, and it makes it honestly a lot harder to prep for because you have to prep first for shift gear, and then Trick Room, and then you have to make sure you can beat a defensive set. So
yeah,
it just adds another element to it. Even if it's not the best one, it's still a very valuable one that you have to prep for.
Exactly, because you over prep for one and he brings the other, you just get flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Other options for Magearna consist of possibly Scarf Magearna, because even without setup or not, it can still potentially surprise factor and get people with coverage moves. Bolt Beam, Shadow Ball, whatever you really want, it just hits.
Mm-hmm. With a Scarf, you'll outspeed a Tornti or a Mega Pidgeot. Just that's the speed tier you're hitting, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got a really solid speed tier to be a Scarf user potentially as well. So that is also potentially a threat. And Volt can just give you neutral momentum no matter what, either way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like staying in, just click Volt Switch and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Then lastly is one I haven't mentioned yet, but I've been just looking through this because I've used this Magearna for a while because I think, okay, just bring in a giant special tank, wall Magearna.
Your mic cut out a bit.
Okay, anyways, I was saying because people's solution to Magearna is often, okay, just bring a special tank and wall that thing, like bring a Melissa or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Magearna, there's another way you can abuse Magearna that also, again, consists of shift gear. Magearna has
physical?
Physical Magearna is an option. I've run it in the past. You run Iron Head, Brick Break, and Shift Gear, and you can break things on the physical side that you don't expect them to get. Like, people bring, like, Spadef Florges or bring in, like, Blissey. Break that thing with Shift Gear.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, your wall is no longer a counter to this thing.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to add to this is, even with the physical set, you have Soul Heart, so that means, like, you could run a hidden tech HP ice if you kill something and people are like, okay, my Intimidate Landorus is gonna wall this. Well, no, you just gave me a Soul Heart boost and now I have a +1 HP ice coming your way.
Or just ice.
So yeah, Ice Beam. What am I thinking? I was stuck on the HP Ice Mega Mawile. I don't know. But like I have a +1 Ice Beam coming your way. You're gonna die anyways. So a mixed or physical set is actually an option, despite its pretty bad coverage on the physical side, to say the least.
Yeah, it's pretty much consistent to, I think, Iron Head, Brick Break, and Explosion.
Oh yeah. Hey, you got that Last Resort. You got that Gyro Ball. Okay. False Swipe.
Zen Headbutt. Okay, we got some tech. Nah.
False Swipe something down to 1 and then set up on it with another mon.
Okay, let's get on to the series.
Okay. All right. But so what are your opinions on whether this should be banned or not?
I think it's not as clear cut as Mega Mawile. I don't think Magearna falls into the category of being a brain dead mon to use. I think Magearna, it requires a lot more like technical skill and thinking of what set you want to bring to each game. So I think that Magearna, it does have. I think it comes down to preference of where you want to vote on it, if you want this allowed or not. I think in higher skill leagues where everyone is experienced and everyone is a really good competent player, this should not be allowed, as competent players will make and abuse this thing extremely well.
You went robot again for a bit. Oof. All right, he's gone for a second, but yeah, he in the casual leagues, it's not as big a threat, because it's typically not like, hey, we're gonna bring a different Magearna each week. It's typically gonna be like, oh, shiftier or oh, bulky. So it depends on which type of league you're in if you want this unbanned. You good here, Justin?
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, I'm about to say, damn it, I'm Mike. Yeah, like Magearna in the hands of experienced players, I think it's way too abusive. I think it should not be allowed in the higher up leagues. But in leagues that are like casual players and people just starting to get into format, this could be a mon that could be really good practice to experiment with, because it's got so much toys to play with. It could be a really good learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like training wheels. I don't think you can bring it into a higher up league, but definitely in a lower league, it could definitely be possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just, I think I sort of agree with you. I'm more on the ban side of this one, because I just feel like, wow, that's so many different options. How are you supposed to prep for all of that? So I think I'm personally on the more ban side, but I can see where in a more casual league you would allow this. Again, the same with Mawile, is this typing is absurd, so that's cool.
Oh god, yeah.
Does it have, I bet it has like 2 weaknesses. Yes, it has 2. And then it has
Fire,
like 9 resistances.
Mm-hmm.
With 2 immunities. That's crazy.
Yeah, which is really good to have a side-by-side comparison of Mawile in the same veil, because they're both on the border. They're both similar in many ways of brokenness.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to comparison. I think just the biggest difference for me personally is that Mawile is a little more brain dead. You just click buttons and watch things die. Magearna is definitely more thought process to make it work well.
Mm-hmm. I think, in my opinion, the way I would put it is Mawile is a lot easier to use, and for a lower skilled battler, it's going to be better. But for a higher skilled battler, Magearna, you have so many options, and you can probably decide which set is going to be best, so it'd be better for a higher skilled player. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, that's a perfect opinion, honestly, for that.
Mm-hmm. But I guess that's that would be it. Let us know what your opinions are on Magearna and Mega Mawile. If they've been unbanned in leagues you're in, tell us how they went. See if they were as busted as we are saying, or if they were just like, no, you're wrong. But yeah, make sure you check out Justin. He's got some really high quality league content, and great battler. Like I said, the Aegis Slash video, talk about maybe only banning King Shield. So it's cool. It's a fun discussion. But make sure to check him out, and I will see you guys next time with maybe a new series starting with this. Maybe I'll talk about like Mega Kang or Deoxys Defense. I don't know. But I'll see you guys later. Peace.